All right, what's up, family? It's your boy John Bacon from the Bacon Bits Podcast. Thank you so much for your support, likes, and ratings. Please don't just listen, but rate me, follow me, and subscribe. This is an amazing way to offer free support. My beautiful queen and I have some books that we have written for your growth.
So the first book we have is a workbook, actually. It's called Healthy Relationships, and this is a workbook through the lens of faith. Because what makes a relationship healthy or unhealthy? So this workbook is designed, it's a 12-week, it's a biblically grounded course, and every week has a few different principles. So if some of our principles, some of our topics that we're covering are respect, cultivating security. And this is not just between a husband and wife. This is between parents, between siblings, between friends, between your bosses, employers. So it's really important, and everyone deserves a healthy relationship.
And also we have The Balanced Life by John Bacon. It covers how to be prosperous in your finances, relationships, your health, your mind, and your spirit. And we also have
The Unraveling, a creative healing journal, pinings, poems, prayers, and ponderings of my precarious life. I've had a testimony of I've had 2 brain tumors and 2 brain surgeries, and I'm super grateful, but I'm still grieving the process of healing. And this is part of the process. In this book, you have devotionals, you have prayers, and you have some ponderings. And in between these pages, there's a space for you to also be prompted to paint and to create your own, or maybe you want to write something in these books. This is part of your creative healing journal that we get to walk through together.
And you guys can just head over to Kingdom Servants First. Kingdom Servants, the number 1, st.com. And you can purchase all 3 of these books. Thank you for your support, your love, and your contributions. God bless. We have got to stop jumping to conclusions in our thinking processes and tell ourselves, you know what, man, this is going to be all right. Slow down. You might have made a mistake real quick, but I don't want you to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Welcome, family, to the Bacon Bits Podcast, where we desire for you to take the bits of information and immediately apply them to your life for success. The ground rules for our podcast is that it will always be encouraging, uplifting, and informative. The areas of life that we will be talking about on the Bacon Bits Podcast is dealing with having a balanced life. And I need to hear y'all say these words, y'all. Say valuable information applied equals success, man. And what we're going to be talking about on this episode is what was you thinking? The thought patterns that we usually have as individuals, as human beings. So all of us have different learning styles, different ways that we think. And I wish that all of us had the same kind so we would know what each other was thinking, or different patterns. But all of us have such different ones. So I'm just going to throw out a couple for you on this episode on how we think. So the number one I want to start with is the all or nothing thinking pattern. You see things in black or white. Ain't no grades whatsoever. If a situation falls short of perfection, you see it as a total failure. And that's something that we really have got to work on, because I can already tell you in life, being 55, this is going to happen. I don't give a care how bad you thought something was. I don't care how awesome you thought something was going to be. It never, and I do mean never, turns out exactly the way you thought it would. Let's just use an example of when a young woman is on a diet and she ate a spoonful of ice cream. She might tell herself she just blew the whole diet completely. Okay, all she had was a spoonful of ice cream. She had to get that little taste off her mouth. And I'm speaking from experience because I am a foodie. So sometimes all I need is that little, 2-3 ounce can of Pepsi. And all I got to do is taste that Pepsi and I'm good for the rest of the day. But it's something about that little taste that I need. But she thinks she done just ruined the whole thing. And she has got to come back and tell herself, you know what? You just you need to get that little taste off your mouth. You're good. Because what'll end up happening is, because she already blew it with the teaspoon full of ice cream, she finna go back and just go ahead and tear up the whole quarter, half gallon of ice cream. And that's something that we have to work on. It's like, man, when we mess up, if you can catch it, when it first happens, it ain't that bad of a situation, man. Don't go all or nothing in. Sometime when we have, like, me financially trying to get out of debt, or what I said, whether it's relationships that we're in, whether it's, dealing with our physical health, whether it's, dealing with our mind or dealing with our spirit with God, man, it's that we can't do all or nothing thinking, man. That's just too extreme of black and white. There's got to be some gray areas up in there. So we have to really catch ourselves when we are going just all in with one way or another. We have to really catch ourselves, because we can be terrible with that way of thinking. So it's not always all or nothing thinking. We have to catch ourselves and make sure. Number 2 is that we would overgeneralize something. You see a single negative event, such as a romantic rejection or a career reversal, as a never-ending pattern of defeat. So sometime we see something and we'll generalize it. Man, I'm just a bad salesman. I had 2 or 3 bad sales, and I'm just a bad salesman. No, you just had a moment, bro. It wasn't that bad, so we have to really catch ourselves. And then if we do something good, and we have 2 or 3 good events, we might say, oh, it was just luck. It ain't always such. We got to quit being so general, man, with our thinking patterns, man. It's not that that's always going to be like this, or it's never going to be like this thinking. It's got to be, there's got to be a lot of fluctuation with becoming the thinking patterns that we have. We got to really catch ourselves. Number 3 is a mental filter. We pick up a single negative detail and we dwell on it exclusively, so that the vision of all reality becomes darkened, which means basically we pick out one single thing, man. So I had, I spilled a cup of coffee, and it's a Monday morning. So we go into a whole, dark way of thinking, like, man, this Monday is going to be terrible. We just focusing on that one event, and that's going to start a whole pattern of me looking for all the negative in my day. So I got to really catch myself. Is each individual event that happens in your day is an individual event. It is not something that's supposed to ruin your whole day, because there's no way I should be having 23 hours and 45 minutes of a great day, have one little single incident of something that happened for 15 minutes, and then that ruins my whole day. I mean, I'm staying stuck, staying obsessed with that reaction for the rest of the day, and ignoring all the positive feedback that happened throughout the day. I took a shower, car running good, me and my wife on great terms, the kids are doing wonderful. Yet I spilled a cup of coffee, and I'm going to just let that ruin the day. I spilled it on some papers on my desk at my job. More than likely, I can get a reprint or a copy of that paper that I spilled the stuff on, and just we're going to start all over. It doesn't have to ruin the whole day. So what we have to do is make sure we filter, those bad things that happen. Don't let it become a whole system or a whole way of thinking for that whole day. This one is a big one, discounting the positive. So when people give us kudos, people give us a compliment on something that we did good, we are not to discount that way of thinking. We are not to say, oh, man, that was just luck, or, that really wasn't a big thing. And that's a big one that we have to really watch ourselves saying. Somebody, you did a blessing to somebody. Somebody needed a cup of coffee, and you surprisingly brought them a cup of coffee, and they was like, man, that was really a blessing. I'm so grateful that you brought me a cup of coffee. Like, oh, that was nothing. But to the person that you brought it to, it meant the world to them at that moment. But we will discount so many great things that we do for people because we have such a negative mindset, a negative way of thinking. So we have to really catch ourselves and not reject the positive experiences that happen to us, or act like they don't even count. Because one of the things that when we're at the rehab, and I bring up the rehab a lot, is that some of the things that we do is we might have them have an hour of just speaking whatever positive things have ever happened in their life. Some of the things that people have said about them that was really nice. And we have to really have them work at it, because what ends up happening is we have such a negative mindset, such a defeated mindset, such a guilt and shame mindset that we forget about all the positive things that we have done. And the cool part that I really love before people graduate our program is we always have, we go around the room and we have the clients that are still in the program that haven't graduated yet speak a kind word over the people that are graduating, because what we're trying to do is fill up their love tank of the great things that they did while they were there. And we want them to leave the program on such a high that it will have them continue to flow in that high, continue to flow in that positivity until the next event happens, and we hoping that next event will only be a little chink in the armor and not some glass shattering moment for those people. So we cannot have a discount the positive mindset. Anytime somebody says something positive that's encouraging to you, they want to give you some kudos on something that you've done wonderful. We cannot keep discounting people's remarks, because if we understood how much effort it takes for us to verbally out loud say to people something good that they've done, that meant a lot to that person to be able to verbally say that. Because I'm real big on this. Sometimes we go throughout our days, man, and I'm just going to use this morning for me and my wife. We cooked a I call it a frittata. You can call it a quiche. And me and her worked together on it. And this was the first time we ever had tried this recipe. And it was really good. I mean, man, I was like, man, this is delicious. And I don't ever want us to say, you know what, oh, that was luck or it just happened by fluke or whatever. We supposed to, tap ourselves on our backs and be like, man, we did a good job cooking together, babe. So that's one of those things that you can use as a positive reinforcement for something that you did, because if you do a good job, you may tell yourself that it wasn't good enough. Or if anyone could have, or somebody could have done it better. No, what you do is you tell yourself you did a good job. And then you say, what could I have done better? But you don't put yourself down and say you didn't do a good job. What you do is say, you know what, that was good right there. And I'm going to improve on that scenario or that thing that I was working on. So another thinking way of thinking that we have is jumping to conclusion. Y'all know we got the gift of doing this. We interpret things negatively when there is no fact to support those conclusions. We are good at jumping to conclusions. So part of jumping to conclusions is mind reading. When people are about to get into a conflict with people, sometimes what they'll do is they'll start mind reading, trying to say, you know what, I think this person is going to say this. I think this person is going to say that. And without checking it out, we conclude that someone is reacting negatively to us. We have really got to catch that, because some people think so much, man, they make my head hurt. I ain't got no problem telling. They be overthinking stuff. And what we got to do is don't mind read. Anytime you're having a conflict with somebody, what you're supposed to do is literally let the conflict play out as it's playing out. Don't mind read. Don't try to fortune tell, predict what the person is going to say or predict how this conflict is going to turn out. You just be in the conflict and work that thing out, asking each other questions, repeating back to each other what each other said so that we don't be interpreting what they said in the wrong way. We got to make sure that we test it to make sure that we don't tell ourselves, I'm going to go blow it. Once again, you're fortune telling of what can happen. Jumping to conclusions. I'm going to blow it. Before we even lead a program, I'm going to flunk this class. I'm going to flunk, trying to be sober. I'm going to tell myself I'm never going to get it. We have got to stop jumping to conclusions in our thinking processes and tell ourselves, you know what, man, this is going to be all right. Slow down. You might have made a mistake real quick, but I don't want you to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Meaning something like, you've been clean for a year, just using a scenario. You've been clean for 365 days. You blew it yesterday. Okay. You don't throw away the 364 days that you was clean just for that one day. Yes, you blew it. Yes, you admit it. You understand it. You take responsibility. You man up or put on your big girl panties and admit that you was wrong. But do not stop there, that you made a mistake. Don't throw everything out with, dang, I ain't gonna never be successful. Listen to what you're saying. You're fortune telling or you're speaking words of defeat before stuff even happens. So we have got to stop jumping to conclusions, doing mind reading and fortune telling. We have got to stop these things. And another way we got to work on is minimalizing our situation. because this is a great way to catch yourself from making sure that, you know what, the things that you just got through doing, that was detrimental to a relationship. That was detrimental to your health. That was detrimental to your sobriety. That was detrimental to your marriage. We got to stop minimalizing things, man. You know, so you say, man, you know what, man, I'm doing drugs and the only person I'm hurting is myself. That's a lie. You're hurting your spouse. You're hurting your children. You're hurting your family. Mom and dad, you know, they didn't raise you to be that way. So we got to stop minimalizing things. And if when things are, you know, we blew it, yeah, let's admit that thing, man. Let's say, you know what, this thing has caused major drama in my life, and I have got to stop downplaying it. You know, the situation that I'm in. You know, this was really a bad situation, and I've got to deal with it. Another way we got to watch our thinking, man, is we got to watch out our reasoning during our emotional states. You know, we assume that the negative emotions are necessary to reflect the way things really are. You know, I feel terrified about going on airplanes. The odds of you having a crash on an airplane is 10 times lower than if you were in a car, because how many cars are on the road and how many planes are in the air? So we got to really catch ourselves with things like that. We must be saying to ourselves, it's dangerous to fly. Yes, it's dangerous to drive a car. It's dangerous to walk across the street when you think about it, you know, but we have to catch ourselves and stop, you know, blowing things out of the water, you know, feeling guilty about stuff or saying to ourselves that we're rotten people. Man, watch your reasoning behind what it is that you're doing. Because when we are in an emotional state, y'all, we start saying stuff and thinking stuff that is just terrible with the life pattern that we're trying to accomplish and we're trying to achieve. So when we have those thinking patterns that are like that, man, where we are just thinking all over the place, we have got to catch ourselves from making those constant mistakes over and over again. So watch when you are in an emotional state. Pay attention to what you are saying to yourself out loud. That is a major key. Major key. Another thought pattern that we have to catch ourselves with is the should statements. We tell ourselves that things should be the way we hoped and expect them to be. And remember, we talked about it earlier. Everything is not going to turn out exactly the way you think it's going to turn out. We have got to catch ourselves. You know, it's like playing a difficult piece on the piano, and a gifted pianist tells herself, I shouldn't have made so many mistakes. And can I be honest with you? More than likely, the only person that's know that she made those mistakes is herself. That's the part that's crazy to me. She played so beautifully on the piece that the only person that knows that she made those kind of mistakes is herself. You know, maybe her teacher, her person that she trained up under. But more than likely, when they're a master pianist, the only person that knew they made the mistakes was themselves. It's the same thing, you know, when I teach a class, man, I'll be focused on, man, I should have said this and I should have said that. And the part is that most of the people that's in the class have no idea that I missed this little line in there of explaining something, or I didn't say something that I should have said when I'm used to teaching a certain way. So sometimes we have to stop the coulda, shoulda, wouldas and say, you know what, man, however that thing turned out is how it was supposed to turn out. That is a big lesson for us to learn. Things happen for a reason. Let us sit back and say, you know, what is it that took place that I didn't like, but maybe somebody else didn't even catch what I said. I just made, you know, a mistake on my own part because I'm so hard on myself. We got to watch the coulda, shoulda, wouldas, because they usually end up being directed against ourselves, and they lead to guilt and frustration. Major guilt, major frustration. Man, I should have done this. I should have done that. I should have, you know, washed the car yesterday. Man, I should have cleaned up the room before my queen got home. Man, I should have cooked that meal for her before she even asked. Man, I should have took out the trash. And I can go on and on of all the couldas and shouldas I should have done. But once again, is anybody saying anything about what I did? If they're not saying nothing, I got to stop beating myself up with the coulda, shoulda, wouldas. That is extremely important. One of the other ways of our thinking pattern is labeling. Y'all know we will put people in categories, And it's got to be an all or nothing thing. Labeling is an extreme form of all or nothing. We got to watch the labeling. So instead of saying I made a mistake, you attach a negative label to yourself. I'm a loser. No, you made one bad decision. You ain't no loser. You know, I always tell people at the rehab, are you drunk 24 hours? Are you drunk 24 hours, 7 days a week? They say, no. I said, well, you ain't always an alcoholic, always a drug addict. You're having moments where you're drinking and taking drugs, but you don't label yourself the whole thing. You know, yes, you have a problem. Yes, this is taking you off the kind of life that you want to live. But to constantly label yourself, you know, a failure or a jerk. Yes, we've made bad decisions over our lives. But guess what? The fact that you still here in front of me as we're talking lets me know, guess what? You've done something right in your life. You know, you didn't make every decision bad. Yes, you've blown it in a lot of areas in your life, but you are still alive and you still have a chance to make a difference. You still have a chance to make a difference. And last but not least, we have got to stop personalizing the blame. We have got to stop. It occurs when you hold yourself personally responsible for an event that isn't even entirely under your control. Anytime you are in I'm just going to use sports because that's one that really sticks out in my head. If a team, you know, a basketball team loses by 3 points, it wasn't just one person's fault that they lost by 3 points. It was a couple of people didn't get enough rebounds. There was a couple of people didn't play defense. It was a couple of people that wasn't paying attention when they were shooting. Their game was, you know, their head was somewhere else while they were playing the game. It's never, you know, for us to personalize and take total control of or total blame for something unless we're doing something by ourselves. But more than likely, other people were involved. And if those other people also would have done their part, it could have came out better. So you got to make sure that you are not blaming others for your circumstances or your problems. So on the part that you messed up in, yeah, take responsibility. But it wasn't you that made this company fall. It was so many other people that were attached to making this thing fall, man. So guys, please do me a favor. Watch the way that you're thinking. You know, I want you to really think about looking at situations with positive eyes. That's super important. We need to find the benefits in the situations that we face. You know, let's think through this process of what's really going on. What was the funny part about what happened, man? Sometimes there's always humor and something absurd or something stupid that we did. So we have to really catch ourselves and say, you know what, that was a bad situation. But the funny part about it was, and then you just bring that part up. Find out what you can change in the whole situation. You know, I know I got to change my thinking pattern. But what were the mistakes that I made that I can actually make a change and I can fix it? You know, I can't fix other people's power, but I can fix my problems in the way I was thinking about that situation and is able to fix it. So guys, I got nothing but love for you. Please watch yourself and these thinking patterns that you're having. Make sure you catch yourself and that you can also start thinking more positive and more upbeat. Think about being a opto-realist, and I always love saying that. I want you to always be optimistic and thinking positive about something, but I also want you to be realistic about the situation. Don't overdo it. Don't make it toxic positivity where everything is super positive and everything is good, but also don't let it be detrimental and everything is bad and everything is just terrible. Find that middle ground and make sure you have your thinking where you needed to be at to get to where you're trying to go. This is your boy John Bacon with another segment of Bacon Bits. Love you guys. God bless.